it's in the doing that you can refine your vision, right? You can't refine your vision arbitrarily in a vacuum. You do it, and then you get some feedback, and internally, you're like, oh, this feels good. And externally, you also get some feedback as well, right? So how did you have that level of clarity?
Yeah. That's where the whole conversation about spirituality comes in. Because the path that you're carving is not yours. So the clarity you're looking for is for your ego, is for the self, it's for you. Is this right? Is this wrong? So when you ask the question, instead, is this my path or is this not my path? That's a different question. Your path is right in front of you if you turn around, because it's a kind of a reversal of your family history or of all the things you chose before. So I chose to be a designer instead of being a pastor, which is what my family wanted me to be. I chose to live in technology during the dot-com boom and afterwards live in the software realm. So pastor, designer, technologist. Then I chose to live in the world of teaching because Linda Wyman from lynda.com was my mentor, my hero, and I did the school. So my mom was a teacher. My grandmother made her being, got all my aunts and uncles educated by opening a school. And I actually did some work. I asked them for their life story before they all passed many years ago. Like 6 years ago when I started doing my journey, one of the first things I did was go back home and spend time with my family and listen to their stories. And I recorded them. And I'm like, oh my God, my grandmother, her heritage is she was a master teacher and a community builder and a church builder. And I'm like, I'm my grandmother. So when you then look at your path and at your choices, are they mine or are they the choices that my grandparents made? It's what resonates with you is what resonated. You're their child. They brought you up. Their values are in you. Their dreams are in you. As Asians and Latinos, we struggle with this issue because parents want them to be something specific and it's a projection of who they want it to be. But you end up, no matter which way you slice it, being that and always having that gap. It's like, am I being what my parents wanted me to be or am I pursuing who I want to be? And then if you take a third way and you say, what is my path based on all of those things? And you look at it neutrally without judging your parents or judging your past, you'll get answers there. The more judgment and the more issues you can't close the loops with your parents of anger or, resentment. If you can't close the loop with your past, the healing is the main vehicle for understanding your own path. Because all those things that pain you and the things that stop you, the things that take away the courage, are fear, and letting go of that is one of the hardest parts because you have to complete with all those people. And one of those people you have to complete with is yourself. Forgiving yourself for all your mistakes, forgiving yourself for whatever it is, the divorce, the different career than what your parents wanted, being a weirdo, that anger and that resentment with whoever, with God or with your parents or with your friends or with your past or with yourself stops you from jumping.
Yeah. A lot of people listening to this are interested in high performance. And one of the mental models that I teach them is removing your interference. Any kind of judgment, trauma, resentment, anger, anything towards others or towards yourself ultimately interferes with your present moment right here and now. And so that's what I want to underline in everything that you said. Total agreement there for sure. And also from what you just shared so far, you can actually look at your history for a very strong signal, whether it be what you've done yourself, professionally and personally, and or intergenerational, what your parents did, what your grandparents did, etc. You can actually use them as a very strong signal to think about your own path. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I call this tethering and anchoring, like in rock climbing. One of the things that I really recommend, because some of the exercises in personal development and coaching and training that you do for this is that you have people tell their story, right? So you're by every decade, like your 20s, your teens, your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, just tell your story and how you felt in those times. And if you look at biographies, or if you look at why people of note write their own stories, is because in the stories there's lessons and signals, right? But doing your own, and then asking your dad and asking your mom and asking your grandma, like I started doing, begins to give you what I call tribal user stories or narratives. Because if you look at customer experience, right, and developing software, we create sets of user stories and subsets of customer types. So if you do that for yourself backwards, for your life, basically primary user stories of the users in the system, your family, you'll get so many interesting insights about who you are. It's like, oh, my uncle's just like me, he's like this, like that. And I'm like, that's where I get that from. And no, it's not whether you get that from, you just recognize it in yourself by seeing it in others. And the fact that they're your family gives you this like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, bring back to another spiritual principle or saying that people say a lot is everyone is either your mirror or projection.
Yeah.
So very similar to that.
Very similar.
Hey, I resonate with what my uncle said. It's not that you inherited it from your uncle, rather it's just some internal resonance that you have.
Yeah, exactly.